Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we're here again.
We're here keeping calm and chanting Hare Krishna.
So reading from Canto 3, Chapter 20, Text 10, Chapters Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
As in sync.
In tune and sink. Yeah.
Kitchen sink.
It's in the kitchen sink.
Alright, text 10. Vidura inquired, how did the Prajapatis eat such progenitors of living entities as Marichi and Swayambhuva Manu create according to the instruction of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe?
Prajapatis.
Prajapatis.
Not Prajapatis. Sounds like a Gujarati dish. Prajapatis.
Oh, well, if you're from south of Vrindavan, that's what you say.
South what?
South of the river. South.
Oh, south of Vrindavan.
South of Galoka. Text 11. Did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their respective wives? Did they remain independent in their action, or did they all jointly produce it? Text 12. Maitreya said, when the equilibrium of the combination of the three modes of nature was agitated by the unseen activity of the living entity, by Mahavishnu, and by the force of time, the total material elements were produced. Purport. The cause of the material creation is described here very lucidly. The first cause is Daiva, or the destiny of the conditioned soul. The material creation exists for the conditioned soul who wanted to become a false lord for sense enjoyment. One cannot trace out the history of when the conditioned soul first desired to lord it over material nature. But in Vedic literature, we always find that the material creation is meant for the sense enjoyment of the conditioned soul. There is a nice verse which says that the sum and substance of the conditioned soul's sense enjoyment is that as soon as he forgets his primary duty to render service to the Lord, he creates an atmosphere of sense enjoyment which is called Maya. That is the cause of material creation.
Interesting. There's a nice verse which says this. Basically, as soon as we forget our primary duty, which is to serve Krishna and be dedicated to the service of Krishna, then we begin to create an atmosphere of wanting to enjoy the senses. So, because the nature of the soul is anandamayo bhyasat, so it's always pleasure seeking. So therefore, the nature of the soul is to look for pleasure. And real, genuine, satisfying pleasure is found in service to God, service to Krishna, which is bhakti. And in the absence of that, immediately we start to hunt and look for something to give us pleasure, to appease us. And therefore, as Prabhupada says here, that creates Maya, and that is the cause of the material creation. So that starts to generate an illusion of something that isn't. Maya means that which is not. So sense gratification is kind of, in one sense, a contradiction in terms, because you can't actually gratify the senses. They never become fully gratified, no matter how much you try to eat, no matter how much you try to drink or smoke or have sex or drive fast cars or watch television or movies or whatever it is. No matter how much you try to do it, the senses are never appeased, they're never satisfied. So actual gratification of the senses is a contradiction in terms. Therefore, it is that which is not. It's just not true. It's not real. The only real satisfaction can come through aligning with our eternal constitutional position, natural position, which is service to Krishna. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Since I talk so much, would you like to read the next paragraph?
Okay.
Oh.
Another word used here is durvitarkyena. No one can argue about when and how the conditioned soul becomes desirous of sense enjoyment, but the cause is there. Material nature is an atmosphere meant only for the sense enjoyment of the conditioned soul, and it is created by the personality of Godhead. It is mentioned here that in the beginning of the creation, the material nature of Prakriti is agitated by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. There are 3 Vishnus mentioned. One is Mahavishnu, another is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and the third is Kshirodakshay Vishnu. The first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, discusses all these 3 Vishnus, and here also it is confirmed that Vishnu is the cause of creation. From Bhagavad Gita also we learn that Prakriti begins to work and is still working under Krishna's or Vishnu's glance of superintendence. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unchangeable. One should not mistakenly think that because the creation emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has therefore transformed into this material cosmic manifestation. He exists in his personal form always, but the cosmic manifestation takes place by his inconceivable potency. The workings of that energy are difficult to comprehend, but it is understood from Vedic literature that the conditioned soul creates his own destiny and is offered a particular body by the laws of nature under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always accompanies him as Paramatma.
Any thoughts?
Nice to think that Krishna is always accompanying us as a Paramatma.
Yeah. He's our best friend. What's that? Yeah, your best friend. He's our best friend. Because he's there through thick and thin, through everything. And he's always trying to give us good advice. Give us a little tap on the shoulder. Let us know. But unfortunately, we don't always listen, do we? Do we now? We don't really always listen, do we? But still, he sticks around. Whereas, if you're anything like me, once someone doesn't listen a couple of times, you just want to discard them, Get rid of them, shift them on, move them out. I don't want to be bothered with them anymore. But parents, that's why the principle of parental love is unconditional. And a mother will continue to love her child no matter what. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which is lucky for me, at least. I don't know about you. I was such a naughty child that it's amazing that my mom still continued to love me. So it's like God. So he's our best friend. He's always in our heart. What?
Okay. 6:13.
So you read and I'll comment.
Okay. As impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of 3 kinds, evolved from the Mahat Tattva, in which the element of Rajas predominates. From the ego, in turn, evolved many groups of 5 principles. Purport. The primordial matter or Prakriti, material nature, consisting of 3 modes, generates 4 groups of 5. The first group is called elementary and consists of earth, water, fire, air and ether. The second group of 5 is called Tanmatra, referring to the subtle elements, sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste and smell. The third group is the 5 sense organs for acquiring knowledge: eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. The fourth group is the 5 working senses: speech, hands, feet, anus and genitals. Some say that there are 5 groups of 5. One group is the sense objects, one is the 5 elements, one is the 5 sense organs for acquiring knowledge, another is the senses for working, and the fifth group is the 5 deities who control these divisions. Now for me, I'll be honest,
Really?
this is a spotless Purana, and this is medicinal. You don't need to know what's going on and who's this and that, and 5 groups, 5 by 5 and 4 by 4, and hatchback and all that. It don't matter. It's medicinal. And so for me, with my limited knowledge, like, I get more lessons and rasa and realizations out of the past times and what we can learn, and this I would take as medicinal, and it's good for me to repeat these words and hear them, but I'm not sure I'm gonna remember or learn all this 5 by 5 and 4 by 4 and 2 times 2 is 4.
Which is interesting, and this just goes to show the potency and nature of the material modes, because they combine together in order to create so many different types of living entities. Because I was very intrigued by this. In fact, I made a note how from the 3 modes comes 4 groups of 5. I mean, it's like, wow, that's awesome. Because when I first came to Krishna consciousness, you read things and everything seems to be in numbers. In fact, we did a Kahoot quiz the other day, right? And I was getting into it, and I think it was called numbers or something.
Yeah, you named it numbers.
I named it numbers. So it's like 1 equals what? 1, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, 2, then there's something, I forget what I have for 2. Then there's 3, you got the 3 Vishnu forms. You got the 3 primary deities, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. 4 was like the 4 Kumaras, but here you have 4 sets of 5, which is great. 5 is like the Panchatattva, or the 5 senses. So what are the 5? So the first group is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The 5 basic elements, right? Second group of 5 is the subtle elements, or the sense objects: sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Third group is the senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. And the fourth group is the 5 working senses. So you've got the knowledge acquiring, which is the Gyan Indriyas, and then you have the Karma Indriyas, which is the moving senses or working senses. Speech, which is the tongue again, hands, feet, anus, and genitals. And then it mentions that there are 5, but I don't think Prabhupada doesn't list. He doesn't give that one, because I think it just mentions, it says involve many groups of 5. So he says the 5 deities that oversee each of these objects, which, we have to see which ones those are. I thought it was totally cool. But for her, it's medicinal. I think it's medicinal as well. But one man's food is another man's poison, they say.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with it. The fact is...
It's good in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, but that's my point. You can eat an apple from any side to get to the core.
Yeah, but most people don't start at the top or the bottom.
No, I don't mean top or bottom, because I don't like those dirty bits. I'm talking about the round section. The round bit. I can bite from here, you can bite from there, but we're still going to get to the core. It don't mean you have to bite just from here. You can bite from there. So that's my point, that we all get to the lotus and veiled lotus feet of Lord Krishna in the 10th canto, some of the bits will be medicinal, some will be like, oh, that's so interesting, and I get this out of it. Either way, spotless Purana, I don't knock it.
Alright, great.
But I'm just saying now I'm just back at school and reading things I know I never will use ever again.
Yeah.
Like arithmetic.
Arithmetic. So, the most amazing thing just happened. Sorry about that. The camera just blipped off, like after whatever 16, 17 minutes of talking, camera just blipped off, and then it took us like 10 minutes to because at first it didn't save either. It just cut off.
No.
We had to restart the phone, and then we were like, it still isn't there. But guess what? It was there, so you get to see, and then we cut off. Where did we start?
Mid-sentence.
Yeah, mid-sentence, because she said, like arithmetic. And I said, like arithmetic's not very useful, is it, in life? But needless to say, we're back again. We're just going to go a little bit longer and say, so although your experience, we're trying to bring you into the experience of what we just had, but you can never know what we just went through right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
I nearly cried.
Yeah. Me too. So.
Text 14.
Okay.
Can you read?
Well, that might make a change today.
Okay.
Text 14. Separately, unable to produce the material universe, they combined with the help of the energy of the Supreme Lord and were able to produce a shining egg. Text 15. For over 1,000 years, the shiny egg lay in the waters of the causal ocean in the lifeless state. Then the Lord entered it as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Interesting. From this verse, it appears that all the universes are floating in the causal ocean. So each of the universes is like an egg. You know, it's like, because it's like the seed of life, right? An egg is like, the seed of life. From that, once there's, not germination, but once there's fertilization, then life begins to exist. So once Vishnu enters, then...
So that means that the egg came before the chicken.
Wow, that's amazing. I think you've just solved the universal riddle. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
I think it's clear here was the egg.
Is the egg. Okay. So this will be the last one, I think, because it's getting late and it's starting to get crazy.
All right, text 16. From the navel of the personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, sprouted a lotus flower effulgent like 1,000 blazing suns. This lotus flower is the reservoir of all conditioned souls. And the first living entity who came out of the lotus flower was the omnipotent Brahma. Purport. It appears from this verse that the conditioned souls who rested within the body of the personality of Godhead after the dissolution of the last creation came out in the sum total form of the lotus. This is called Hiranyagarbha. The first living entity to come out was Lord Brahma, who is independently able to create the rest of the manifested universe. The lotus is described here as effulgent as the glare of 1,000 suns. This indicates that the living entities, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also of the same quality, since the Lord also diffuses his bodily glare known as Brahma Jyoti. The description of Vaikuntha Loka, as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, is confirmed herewith. In Vaikuntha, the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, electricity or fire. Every planet there is self-effulgent like the sun.
Wow. There you go. What a window into the spiritual world. window into creation and then a window into the spiritual world. So from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu sprouts a lotus. Inside of that lotus is contained all of the jivas. And Prabhupada's explaining that it appears that these are the jivas that merged into the Supreme Personality of Godhead's body at the end of at the time of annihilation. Then they're born back into, and they reside within the lotus. In one sense, you could say kind of like the spores or like seeds. And then born from that lotus is the first living being. Prabhupada mentions called Hiranyagarbha, or Lord Brahma, who is the creator, and he has the potency and capacity to create the rest of the unmanifested universe. He's able to materialize that. But then it's described that the lotus flower is effulgent like 1,000 suns. And in one sense, that's not surprising, because the Lord himself has a blazing effulgence, which is probably even more than 1,000 suns. It's the Brahmajyoti, so like that. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yes, nice. Especially at this time of the year, you can appreciate what's been said here, because like it gets dark earlier, and like when we're walking about, like we do in the dark, we have to, because I say, we don't walk around late at night, but it gets dark like 3-4 o'clock. And I was thinking, this is the natural constitutional position of this material world. It's dark, and that's explained in the scriptures, that it's dark. It's illuminated by the Lord's effulgence coming through the sun, moon, like this. And the street lights, although I don't know what we pay our taxes for, because I've got better lamps at home than those street lights. But anyway, the point is, when you look around at this time of the year, you see this is how this material world is naturally. It's dark. And as we just read in this pop-up, the spiritual worlds are all naturally illuminated. They don't need, it says in the pop-ups, sun, moon, electricity, fire, like this. They're just, so that's natural, and this isn't. And so artificially we have to put the lamps on inside the house and outside, and we are dependent on the effulgence of the sun and the moon coming via Krishna's effulgence to light up this dark material world. Otherwise, naturally, it is dark. So it's quite nice to meditate like that this time of the year on some transcendental truths.
Wow, that's amazing. Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, very incredible. Yeah, it is dark in the material world, but in the spiritual world, it's naturally light. Okay, thank you all very much. With that, we'll leave you to think and ponder deeply. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Remember, keep calm and chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.